What's up, guys? So this video is going to be about the whole short selling saga that's going on, and I feel like we're finally starting to rip the mask off of Wall Street and see the ugliness that's behind it. I'm going to give you both sides, and you can decide for yourself. Now, I'm going to leave the video in my bio probably for the rest of this month, so please, I encourage you to watch the whole thing. It's an hour and a half long. The guys are super smart. They're talking about it, and I'm just doing a breakdown of it, and I'm going to give you my opinion, the bull side and the bear side of it. So we'll start off with the fundamentals. I'm going to pretend like you don't know nothing. Bear with me. I posted a video about Bill Ackman explaining what a short is, and I'll explain it to you. So let's say we have this older iPhone, and this iPhone's worth $100 in the market. And it's your buddy Bob's. And you tell Bob, hey, let me borrow your iPhone. He's like, yeah, I got 3 of them. I don't need them. So you borrow it from Bob. You sell it right away to a pawn shop, right? You get the $100. You come back a month later, 2 months later, and all of a sudden this iPhone that you sold for 100 is worth $50. So you go back to the pawn shop, you buy it for $50, you give it back to Bob. Bob's not the lesser because he got his product back, aka the stock back, and you kept the spread in between. So you sold it for 100, bought it back for 50, you made a $50 profit, gave it back to Bob. Now the other side of that is every single day you're paying Bob interest, on that iPhone. So it gets into this whole saga. So we'll use AMC for an example. And this is what thing that kind of blew my mind about synthetic shares and stuff. So it gets a little bit deeper, so just bear with me. I'm going to try to explain it the best I can. So obviously you got regular shares in AMC, and these hedge funds shorted it. And if you have a margin account, by the way, and if you're not asking for your broker to keep it in your stock into a cash balance even, that means they cannot lend it out. The shares that you have on Robinhood and on, TD Ameritrade or you name it, your broker is most likely lending those shares out. So on your books, it shows you have the shares, and on the, on your screen, and it shows that, the value is going up or down, but you don't really have possession. You just have like a digital possession. It's not really there. It's lent out to someone else, and your broker is making money off of you for the most part. So with that being said, when they short a stock, you'll get like a company. We'll use Citadel. Citadel says, okay, there's 450 million AMC shares. I think this company is crap, and it's going to the shitter. So what we're going to do is we're going to short it. So they'll borrow the shares, from our broker, from Robinhood, from TD Ameritrade, whatever, and they'll sell it right into the market right away, and they'll collect that money. But they owe it back to the brokers, and hopefully their goal is that the stock's going to go down, so they go back and buy it cheaper. Now, where this gets deeper and deeper is on their books, on Citadel's books, they'll show that they're shorted, but they're kind of lying about how much they're shorting, because on their books also they'll show that they're long a stock. And so how they'll do that is they'll create like a synthetic stock. So what the hell is a synthetic stock? Then this is where things get really interesting. And this is why the lying and the cheating is really coming in. So what they'll do is they'll go out, so today's June 2nd, June 3rd, when I'm, it's 1 a.m. when I'm making this, but they'll go out for January, 6 months out, January of 2022, and they will sell let's just say AMC was trading at $10. They will sell $11 call, and then they'll buy a $9 put. So selling a call, buying a put means they're covered all way. Boom, an artificial stock has been created. Well, that call option is probably, let's just say it's $1, and that put option's $1. So now they've used $2 to buy a $10 stock, right? And then they'll synthetically create it, and then they'll sell it into the market, and they'll collect that $8. And you're like, what the fuck? That share doesn't even exist. That's the point. It doesn't exist. And as long as they keep rolling that option as it gets closer to the date, they can keep doing that forever, right? Because, okay, so what the hell does all that mean? So basically what they're doing is they're creating a fake share, right? They're selling it back to TD Ameritrade on their books. And then TD Ameritrade is then, selling it to you or to the retail guys, right? And so the whole idea for Citadel is they hope to drive that sucker to zero, and then they have a bunch of fake shares that they sold, and then those shares, that those synthetic shares will just go away, and they're just making a freaking killing. So I'll take a step back and I'll try to re-explain it, because I was a little bit confused about it when I was, watching it. So when you buy a call option, it means that someone else is obligated to give you that stock at that price. And when you buy a put option, it means someone else is obligated to buy that stock at that price. So what these hedge funds would do is they'll buy a call and then they'll sell a put, and that will create literally a fake share or a share in the company. And the shares, let's say, is at $10. They paid $1 for the call, $1 for the put, so they have $8. Then they'll sell that fake share into the market, which TD Ameritrade, Robinhood, or whatever buys. They'll get that $8 credited to their account. Their goal is to bankrupt the company, because when they bankrupt the company, it's literally on pennies. They're going to keep that $8 that's fake. So when the short report comes out, it's going to show that the original shares are shorted, but it doesn't show these synthetic shares that are shorted, right? And even on their books, they can lie, and they could just be like, we're long this stock, and we have this stock, but it's in Canada, it's in wherever. And see, the SEC could only control what's in America. They can't hold these people accountable. We don't have any regulation there. These people are self-regulated, and that's some of the things that we need to fix that this video explains. So really, when you see that AMC is like 120 million shares shorted, well, synthetically, they're probably shorted 250 million shares, which is like insane, because there's institutional owners that own that. So it's like, how can they even be short that much shares, right? Like it goes back to GameStop. How was GameStop even shorted 130%? Is because of these synthetic shares. And it ends up being a real problem. As you can see, it's literally lying and cheating. You're selling something you do not have, right? And for the hopes of you bashing it and bringing it down, because you collected $8. So if you could bring the stock down to like $2 and you could cover at $2, you still made like a $6 profit. Now multiply that by millions of shares that you're doing, you're coming out pretty clean. You're coming out with a handsome profit. This time they got caught with their pants down, and people are just buying it up and forcing them to buy it. But the thing is they could just keep rolling these options. And as they're rolling the options out, I mean, they just got to keep holding on until we decide to start selling. And that's where it's like, how do you beat these guys? And there's no accountability here. And it's like, at this point, it's like, it's literally robbery. So that's the bear side. That's not even the bear side. That's one side. And I'll tell you the other side. The other side is, hey, look, you got a freaking market maker, right? At the end of the day, they're still buying a call. They're still they're still buying a call and buying a put. They're making the market happen. They're placing their bet, and they're actually leveraging, right? So in that scenario where they bought $1 call and they bought $1 put, they still put $2 up, and they leveraged that $2 to $10. They leveraged it, 5x. That's a pretty smart way to manage capital. I mean, it's kind of like what I do with real estate. If I get a good deal, I could buy a property. Back in the day, now it's 25 because lending's whatever, but bear with me. If I could buy a rental house for $100,000, a rental home for $100,000, and I only got to put $20,000 down, and then I just wait and just collect rent and pay it off, I've leveraged 5 times. And that's what they're doing in the market, is just really using leverage. But it's pretty dirty, I got to admit it. But at the same time, it's like, they're just playing a game like we are. They're thinking that, hey, look, AMC has $11 billion in debt. AMC's $11 billion in debt is also like at 8% or even higher. So they're like, there's no way they're going to be able to come up with $1 billion a year to pay the interest on the bonds that they own. The company's still not open. They don't know about the contracts they're getting. A lot of the movies are going direct. They can't get staffing. This company's probably going to go bankrupt. So they decided to sell a bunch of, short the stock a shitload. And then they decided to do these, these synthetic sales. And there's all kinds of other ways. I just showed you one example. You got to watch the video. I forgot the other names that he gave, but this is the other side of Wall Street, the ugly side that we don't see. And, they're trying to make money. And, they put that bet in thinking it's going to go under, but yet we went out and we bought all this, or the retail, like people like us just went out and bought all the stock. And now, synthetically or not synthetically, you're going to have to buy, that stock back to make people whole. But then how do you figure out who owns what share? Because these shares aren't like, there's no serial number behind the share. And that's the dangerous part, because we don't know what's out there, what's real out there and what's not real out there. Right? So it's like they're just manipulating the market, but they're making money. And like, what do I think? So I gave you both sides, but what do I think of it? I think good for them. It was genius, but I also think it's bullshit. And I think that that's not fair, and that's not how you put trust into a market, right? Like, I'm all about taking either side of the bet you want. If you think something's bad, you should be able to bet that it's bad. If you think something's good, you should be able to bet that it's good, but it should be a one-for-one trade. There shouldn't be a way for you to engineer or financially engineer something and then sell it to people that you don't have, and because it leaves a bunch of uncertainty in the market. It leads to mistrust in the market, and when that shit happens, we don't have faith in the market. So then markets don't get capitalized, and we don't want to invest, and you don't have innovation, and you can see how it spirals down. And guess what, guys? There's not the only stock they're doing this with. This is one out of probably thousands of stocks they're doing this with. And they used to start this off with, it started off with, like in the video he explained, a bunch of small caps, and it's worked its way up into these mega caps. And mega cap is like, to me, in my opinion, is definition I think is 5 billion plus, but to me it's like $1 billion plus, right? So when you're running these kind of games and you're making these millions, all you're really doing is putting, the whole system at risk, because we're not going to have confidence in the system. And this is where the SEC and our politicians and our regulators got to come in. And I will say one thing, I'll end the video up with one thing, is Joe Biden's transition guy, to his credit, in 2009, he tried to fix this issue and it was shot down. And you should see the amount of fines they pay. It's a part of the business, right? They'll just pay the fine when they get caught for selling stock they don't have and not balancing out their books. But he was not able to pass it because Wall Street's so connected, right? So that was pretty dirty in my opinion. And I hope out of this whole, since the beginning of this year till now, 6 months later, since January until, we're in June now, we have seen how negative this can impact markets, how it can really make people lose money. Because there's people that bought money or put money in at GameStop at $350 and they've lost, right? And there's people that have lost on BlackBerry and Nokia and all that. And it's not the people's fault, because the game has already been rigged, right? We just finally turned the tables on it, but the game should never be played in that manner. And we need, politicians to actually do their job. And this guy that wanted to pass this bill, he does have Joe Biden's ear. So I don't know if actual real regulation will come out of this, but I think something needs to be done, because I think it is BS that you could short something or you could sell something you don't have with no intention of ever paying it back. You're like playing a game, and I don't think that's how we should do business. I don't think that's how you create good faith in markets. And until that gets addressed, we're going to see these shady, dirty deals happen all the time, and it's not going to want to make people invest in the stock market. That's why I say real estate's better, and I think that's horrible, because over the long run, stock market can create huge amounts of wealth, but we need to be able to restore confidence in the market. So I hope this kind of makes sense, guys, about the synthetic shares. Basically, don't even worry about the call put. Just realize, the very simple layman's terms, is they're selling something they don't even have, and they're hoping it goes to zero, so they don't owe anyone anything and they can just keep the money. That's the simplest way I can put it, right? They're selling you something, saying, hey, I'll pay you next week, and they're hoping that they don't got to pay you next week because, that thing is no longer in service or no longer needed, So like I said, it's a really interesting video to watch. Check it out if you got an hour and a half. And if not, I hope you enjoyed this brief of it. I hope I did a decent job to make you somewhat understand. If I didn't, drop a comment and I'll try to explain it again. Or maybe I'll have to make the damn video again. I don't know. But if you like the content, please share this video with a friend. And let me know what you think in the comments.